Hello students, welcome back to class. It's good to have you in class today. So in the last class, we talked about the meaning of national consciousness. We looked at the meaning of national integrity and national unity. And we also discussed some hindrances to national consciousness in the society. Moving forward today, we are going to be discussing capitalist democracy. At the end of this class, you should have an idea of what capitalism is as an economic system and what democracy is as a political system. You'll be able to bring both terms together and explain what capitalist democracy is. You should also be able to explain the characteristics of capitalist democracy. These are the features, or these are the things that we can see in capitalist democracy. Let's get into the business of the day. There are different systems of government that are practiced by different countries around the world, and democracy is just one of the systems that is practiced, or we can say one of the systems that is mostly practiced by most countries around the world. It is a system of government where absolute power is vested on the people. This means that the people are actively in charge of decision making in the society, either directly or indirectly through their elected representatives. In large societies like Nigeria, it is difficult for the people to be actively involved directly. That is why they elect representatives to represent them at different levels of government. So direct democracy can only be possible in small countries or in small communities. Capitalist democracy as a political and economic ideology combines democracy with capitalist system of government. Now, capitalism developed historically out of previous systems of feudalism. It can be traced back to Europe, and it is a system of economic production and resource distribution in the society. We have other forms of economic production and resource distribution in the society. We have other forms of economic system like socialism, communism, mixed economy, and so on and so forth. Capitalism can be contrasted with socialism. Socialism is the opposite of capitalism. In socialism, all the means of production are managed by the state. What then is capitalism? Capitalism is an economic system where individuals are allowed to own the means of production in the society. It is based on private ownership of resources and capital. Citizens in society are free to own properties, are free to start legal businesses, are free to, they are the ones that are in charge of the means of production in the society. What then is capitalist democracy? It is important to note that capitalist democracy combines capitalism as an economic system and democracy as a political system. It is therefore the operation of the principles of representative democracy in a capitalist economic system. Now, there are two key things here. First, the society must be a capitalist society where the means of production are owned by members of the society, are owned by the citizens, and then this capitalist society now practices democracy as the system of government. Capitalist democracy is a union of both capitalism and democracy. So moving forward, we are going to be looking at some characteristics of capitalist democracy. These are features that are evident in a capitalist democratic society. Number one, we have majority rule. What does majority rule mean? This involves the government taking decisions that support the desires of the majority in the society. As a characteristic of capitalist democracy, this implies that the policies and the programs of the government must be in accordance with the desires of the majority, or must be in accordance with the will of the majority in the society. That means a larger group, a larger fraction of the society. It must favor a larger fraction of the society. So majority rule is a good characteristics of capitalist democracy. Number two, rule of law. What does the rule of law mean? The rule of law has three major characteristics. What are these characteristics? Now, equality of the law, supremacy of the law, and respect for fundamental human rights. Now, this means that every citizen is equal before the law. No one, there's a common saying that is, there's this common saying that we hear most times. They say nobody is above the law. That is the fundamental characteristics of the rule of law. All citizens in the society have equal rights in the face of the law. Number three, we have economic freedom. Under capitalist democracy, citizens are at liberty to engage in any legal business without restriction. Now, legal business, lawful business, business that will not infringe on the right of the other in the society. So every member of the society is allowed to venture into any business that is geared towards making profit so as to develop the society. It is important to note that the aim of capitalism is profit making. Every citizen or every business person who goes into creating a business is creating it with the sole aim of making profit from that business. So members of the society are allowed to contribute to the economic development of the society through the profit that they make from their businesses. Number four, periodic election. Democracy as a political system involves timely elections. Nigeria, for instance, conducts her elections every 4 years. This means that elected officials can be in office for a period of 4 years. The president, for instance, can be in office for a period of 4 years and has the chance to be re-elected for another 4 years. So periodic election is a characteristics of capitalist democracy. What are elections? I'm sure you are familiar with the term elections. Elections are formal and informal processes of choosing leaders to represent the people's interest in government through voting. Number five, we have private property. Capitalist democracy respects and protects the right of citizens of the society to acquire and own properties. So this means that citizens in the society, as long as they have the means, they have the resources, can acquire properties and can acquire and own properties in the society. Citizens are allowed to make profit from their businesses, to acquire wealth, and to own properties. Number six, we have separation of power. Under capitalist democracy, there is separation of government functions between the various organs of government. Separation of power allows for each organ of government to run smoothly. It decentralizes it decentralizes power to enable efficiency of the government. Now we have three organs of government. We have the legislature, we have the executive, and we have the judiciary. The legislature is the lawmaking arm of the government that is in charge of making laws, deliberating on laws. Once the laws have been deliberated, it is passed on to the executive, which is the law implementing arm of government. And lastly, we have the judiciary, which is the law interpreting arm of government. This manages the peace and security of the nation and also punishes offenders who violate the law in the society. The powers of those organs of government are contained in the Constitution. The Constitution spells out each power that these organs of government have in the society. Number seven, we have the supremacy of the Constitution. The Constitution is the ultimate authority and it determines what is lawful and acceptable and what is unlawful and punishable. in the society. We have outlined about 6 characteristics of capitalist democracy. We have talked about majority rule. We have talked about the rule of law. We talked about the various characteristics of the rule of law, equality of the law, supremacy of the law, respect for fundamental human rights. We also looked at economic freedom. We looked at periodic elections. We looked at private property. We looked at separation of power between the various organs or arms of government. We looked at supremacy of the constitution. Now, in conclusion, capitalist democracy is marked by democratic elections, freedom, fundamental human rights such as right to life, right to freedom of speech, right to freedom of movement, right to own property, right to vote and be voted for, right to freedom of assembly, and so on and so forth. And features that are characteristics of democracy as a political system. It's also important to note that capitalist democracy retains a free market economic system and allows citizens to be actively in charge of the means of production in the society. So we have come to the end of today's class. Before we go, let's just give a recap of what we talked about. We identified capitalist democracy as an economic and political system that combines democracy with a capitalist system of government. We looked at it as the operation of the principles of representative democracy in a capitalist economic system. We looked at a few characteristics of capitalist democracy. We looked at majority rule, the rule of law. We looked at economic freedom, private property, separation of power, supremacy of the constitution, periodic elections. So these are some features that can be seen in any capitalist democratic society. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. The evaluation questions are going to be displayed on the screen. Read the content page, attempt the quizzes, watch this video for a robust understanding of the subject matter, take jottings, take questions that we'll discuss when we meet in class. Thank you for watching. I'm going to see you in the next class.